The Rogue River was among the 8 rivers which were designated wild and scenic in 1968, meaning that it is and will be preserved in a free-flowing condition for the enjoyment of present and future generations. Since 1968, other rivers and creeks in Oregon have received this designation, including the Deschutes, the John Day, the Grand Ronde, and many others. The Rogue River National Recreation Trail, managed by the Bureau of Land Management, stretches 40 miles on the lower portion of this river, from Grave Creek on its eastern end to the Big Bend trailhead near the Oregon coast. We are not young. We are not in a hurry. We like to study the landscape features and the small details, the flora, the fauna, the long arc of geological history.
We believe, like Aristotle, that in all things of nature there is something of the marvelous. We are Elizabeth and Terry. We are 2 on a trail.
Good morning. We are on the north bank of the Rogue River near Galice, which you can't get to from here because there's a landslide. But we are going to hike a portion of the Rogue River National Recreation Trail. We had intended to hike the Rainie Falls Trail, which is on the other side of the river, but it's also closed because of a slide. So when you're out here in this country, and it's probably true of many places, local conditions change and you have to be adaptable. So we'd just like to get a glimpse of the Rogue River and of this trail, which is a really significant trail. It's also got some hazards, but I'm sure we'll be able to survive and enjoy ourselves.
Historical reminders abound on this trail, which begins at Grave Creek, named in memory of Martha Leland Crowley, daughter of a pioneer couple, who was buried under an oak tree near the stream in 1846. The trail itself has a long history of usage by Native American people, and in the 1850s it was an important trail for miners who brought in supplies using pack mules and even wheelbarrows.
For countless generations, Takelma and Athabaskan people have lived near the Rogue River, called Takelma by the Takelma. Winters were spent in villages along its banks, and in summer they would gather roots, acorns, and camas, and hunt for deer, bear, and other wildlife. In October of 1855, one of the last battles of the Rogue Indian War was played out along this stretch of river, as a group of Takelma people fought off volunteers and regular army troops for days before being overwhelmed and surrendering at Big Bend, nearly 40 miles downriver from the start of this hike. Their descendants are members of the Confederated Tribes of Siletz Indians, Confederated Tribes of Grand Ronde Community, and the Cow Creek Band of Umpqua Indians. Most of these rocks are part of the Rogue Formation, a complex result of undersea eruptions from Jurassic volcanoes, covered up by sediments from later Cretaceous seas, buried, uplifted, and metamorphosed into hard, erosion-resistant, and mineral-rich rocks of quartz, serpentine, and gneiss. These rocks have been carved deeply by the waters of the Rogue River for nearly 1 million years. Part of the Siskiyou-Klamath bioregion, the banks of the Rogue are home to a wide variety of microhabitats, including rocky outcrops, wet seeps, and pockets of shade, giving rise to many different plant species, including some endemics thriving here but existing nowhere else on planet Earth.
I think this is one of those rare plants.
Okay, on the way back we can, where the trail goes down to the river.
Okay.
I don't know if there's a sandbar there or... The Christmas flood of 1964 was a major catastrophe in the Pacific Northwest, occurring between December 18, 1964 and January 7, 1965. Considered a 100-year event, by its end, every river in Oregon was above flood stage, and more than 30 major bridges were impassable. Here on the banks of the Rogue River is the high water mark from that flood, 55 feet above the average summer river level. Zane Grey, the famous Western writer, lived in a cabin on the Rogue, not far from Rainie Falls. He wrote often of the river, including this: "And the river glided on in endless solitude, its eternal song, low and musical, near at hand, droning sweet melody from the rapid at the bend, and filling the distant drowsy air with its soft thunder."
mile 1.8. Rainie Falls, if you want to go see Rainie Falls, you take the lower trail.
You can hear it. You can hear the falls.
Should we do that?
Sure.
Rainie Falls was visible only sparingly through a heavy tree cover. The June afternoon was warming up, particularly in the shadeless, rocky exit, and it was time, like this denizen of the river, to seek shade and liquid refreshment.